Hello and welcome to Todd Rolls Dice, where we have another Monday Horus Heresy 3.0 rules preview. Well, it's not really a rules preview. It is a preview of what is going to be coming. As I'm pretty sure we all agree, we're barreling toward pre-order probably being announced on Sunday. But I think this is also an article that people have been waiting for. This is talking about Journal Tactica, so hopefully this is actually going to answer some questions. So how about we take a look at Rules in the Age of Darkness, the Journal Tactica. With a new edition of Warhammer the Horus Heresy, Age of Darkness imminent, there's more to come than just the packed Saturnine box set. Each main faction is getting a Liber book on release. Main faction, that's a bit harsh. Let's have a look at what the star is. Save the Talons of the Emperor, whose Liber is coming later. They do get PDF rules at launch, however. So, Talons of the Emperor count as a main faction, but they're not getting their rules just yet. But they go on to state, you'll also be getting free downloadable PDFs for the minor factions, without naming them. That's not the only way we'll be exploring the battles, forces, and lore of the era. Here's the Warhammer Design Studios in-house Sigilite Andy to explain more. Another cool shot of salamanders against Iron Warriors. Just to touch on that first paragraph, we knew the Libers were coming, we knew that Talons were getting their PDF and they will get a Liber down the line. Does this also state with the minor factions? Does that mean demons? Does that mean militia? To name the two that have popped up in my comments a couple of times. What other factions, minor factions are there in the Heresy? Hopefully that, while not actually directly answering the question, does X faction have rules? Hopefully that'll put players' minds at ease a little bit, that there is going to be more coming than just what they've named and mentioned. We'll probably find out by the end of the month, but I've previously said before, if demons are missing, it will be a crime. But I think the takeaway from that is free downloadable PDFs for the stuff that they don't have enough to make a book for. Free online rules is always quite nice, depending on how they do it. But hopefully that puts some people's minds at ease. Let's get into this one. So this is all from Andy. The third edition of Warhammer the Horus Heresy, Age of Darkness, isn't just a new set of core rules and army lists. It also brings a new way of exploring the setting via a series of ongoing gaming supplements, the Journal Tactica. Age of Darkness journals will be familiar to players of Warhammer the Old World who have been well served by their own arcane journals for some time now. So we're seeing the amalgamation of these specialist game studio and the products that they focus on, they work on. We're seeing their design aesthetic actually being brought into every game that they look after. My understanding of the arcane journals was more a couple of regiment of renowns, or whatever it's called in the old world, and some rules, and that was it. I think these are a little bit meatier if they're tackling lore and stuff, but I've never actually looked in an arcane journal. I think you're going to see a lot of similarities with how the old world and Horus Heresy are treated post-release of this new edition and moving forward. It's probably a fool's hope, but I would also take that as they're going to do arcane journals, they're going to drip feed this stuff. Hopefully they're not going to touch the rules for a long time, i.e. more than 3 years. I mean, at the minute, nobody knows. I would love somebody to come out and say, this is your rule book, we're aiming for it to be more than 3 years, so don't worry about picking up and starting. That would have been cool. Anyway, let's focus on the positives in this one, shall we? By releasing digestible supplements more frequently, we aim to provide Age of Darkness players with a constant stream of background, uniform guides, unit entries, scenarios, and other gaming material. The first is entitled Journal Tactica, the Istvan V Dropsite Massacre, Part 1. And there are many more in the pipeline. I think these are going to follow the famous battles of the Horus Heresy, aren't they? Each journal is a 48-page softback book, and they'll be coming thick and fast over the coming years. This will allow players to dip into the series with individual issues as and when something catches their interest, perhaps covering a particular campaign or providing rules for a unit they want to try out. They are going to be locking unit rules behind this stuff as well. That's not a good thing, is it, in this day and age? I don't think it's a good thing. Future journals will cover many different subjects, the most obvious being the many iconic campaigns fought throughout the Horus Heresy, providing background, missions, play modes, and even special or variant units inspired by the stories. It does sound interesting though, doesn't it? The Dropsite Massacre is a great example of one such battle. and we're intentionally titling the issue Part 1 as a statement of intent that we will be returning to this most pivotal of battles many times in the future. Examining it from the perspective of different protagonists, given that there are 11 legions present, not to mention Titans, Legios, Knight Household, Solar Auxiliary Cohorts, and Mechanicum Tagmata, there are countless stories to be told. Interesting. I don't know how I feel about that. I'm kind of torn. I would rather have one book that focuses on all of that one. Let's use this Fan 5 as a reference point. So I would rather have a 128, they're like 128 page books, 128 page book that gives you a whole campaign of the Isfahan 5 drop site massacre that features all of the legions, all of the external stuff, the extra bits, and really gives you the tools to play straight away. That's not what's happening, and I don't know if that's a good thing or a bad thing, because it means that Space Marine players, Part 1 is for you, but maybe Part 5 in 2 years' time is going to be just for those Knight Households or Solar Auxilia. But we're going to stick units in. I suppose if they focus on factions and the units are for those factions, you don't need to buy these all the time. It also depends how they price these. I think the Arcane Journals are less than £20, so actually it might not be bad value. I don't know. I mean, this feels like Games Workshop is doing something new and they're trying out new ways of delivering narrative and game rules. Yeah, we'll see. Hopefully it works out, but you guys will have to let me know initially what you think off the back of this article moving forward. The Urgal Depression Sector. This is a cool map. I do like a good map. So it goes through the legions that are in there, and it goes through some of these support allocations as well. Interesting, this is cool. I do really like a good map. This is something they've started doing with the 40k campaign books as well, actually, and having some really cool lore info. Battles aren't the only subject that we'll be covering, even though these are extremely important to the Age of Darkness players. Another is playstyles, a great example being Zone Mortalis, a set of specialised tunnel fighting rules and missions that Horus Heresy players have been enjoying since the first edition of the game. We have a bunch of other styles and map packs up our sleeves which will be appearing in future journals, some familiar to veteran players, others entirely new. We do have the contents, so you've got Drop Site Massacre. So contents, it looks like Drop Site Massacre is the first, 32 pages. So that's quite a lot of lore going through the Isfahan system, the Depression Sector map that we just saw, the opposing forces, the extent of loyalty, and a chronology of the Drop Site Massacre. All of that's pretty cool. You've got mission rules, legendary mission the first wave, and battlefield assets. That's an 8-page mission rules section. That's huge. Additional unit profiles, the Master of Descent, Augur Command and Control Squad, and the Hyperios missile tank. I don't know how I feel about locking unit profiles behind a book like this. And then you have additional prime advantage. Is that does it say interdiction cadets or cadre or something? I don't know what that is. Yeah, it's interesting, but I'm torn on the delivery system and what they're actually putting in. I love the idea of lore and maybe even scenarios being in this stuff. That's really cool. But locking units in, this is, you know what this is? It's just dawned on me. The last edition of Lord of the Rings, a Middle-earth strategy battle game, they did books that basically had this. You had a series of new characters or profiles. Some of them were new models or some of them were just repurposed models. And then they had scenarios that you'd play through a certain set of missions in a certain area of Middle-earth. That's what this is. I don't think it's a bad thing, but I still, from 10th edition onwards, they have said for 40k, they are not going to lock profiles and detachments in campaign books. Your campaign books is just going to be campaign. There's no units. That's the primary Games Workshop team. This is obviously the secondary specialist games team. They're looking at things much, much older. They're obviously focusing in on this stuff. The units and things that fit these scenarios I'm on board with. If you're going to be able to use them in any army, in any scenario, in any matched play environment for Horus Heresy 3.0, I don't like them being locked in these books. The armories of the various factions is another rich vein, as will be the case with one upcoming journal taking a deep dive into the history and employment of Saturnine technology by the Legiones Astartes. This will include 2 Legion unique variants of Saturnine Terminator squads and a set of heavy assault themed missions. Another will take a look at the super heavy tanks of the Legiones Astartes, providing a play mode and other gaming options that makes game boards around one side fielding these armoured behemoths a real challenge for both attacker and defender. I'm kind of interested in this stuff though, as much as I'm trying to fight against it. It does sound pretty cool. And lastly, we will be looking at the different factions active during the Horus Heresy. Individual legions and other factions will eventually receive their own journals, very much like Old World, providing each with an expanded army list and gaming options. So that will be a collection of, hey salamanders, you can use all these units. The core Age of Darkness rulebook and one of the Liber army books will provide players with everything they need to play an army. The Journals Tactica are expansions in the truest sense of the word. We want players to be excited and inspired by the range of contents on offer without feeling compelled to purchase every single journal in order to keep playing. We hope both veteran players and those only recently joining the Horus Heresy will enjoy this new style of expansion, whichever faction they play. I know it's easy to kick Games Workshop, and I know a lot of YouTube creators do kick Games Workshop, and I have kicked them, sometimes unfairly, depending on how you view my argument, but I have kicked them for quite a few things. I constantly kick them with Middle-earth Strategy Battle Game. But recently, and that is another specialist games team, so it's kind of like links in. But recently they've been making some positive changes towards bringing narrative into all of their games, but campaign books have generally got better. I know that they're Legends rules, but the free Legends rules that came out from a strategy battle game with all the units that you can still use but not in official match play situations. They've done quite a lot of positive things that I will come out and happily say this is a really good step forward. That last paragraph and how they're presenting this, yes, they're trying something new, yes, they have an idea of what they're doing with this, and it's very expansiony. It's very scenario driven, very lore driven elements, and the Horus Heresy is ripe for all of this stuff. I do think that they're looking at delivering this in the correct way, it's just what they're delivering and if it actually lands. I will say, as somebody who is mildly interested in the new version of Horus Heresy, I went from nope, never doing it to potentially. The door is slightly ajar, it may happen at some point. I would actually be tempted to pick these up anyway. As somebody who doesn't know much about the Heresy, but I also like books like this, so they've got me interested. I'm not saying that's a good thing or a bad thing, but they've got me interested. The way that they've built this is Old World arcade journals, which I believe are still widely available for each army. They're not a FOMO release or anything like that. That's how they should be delivered. In 3 or 4 years' time, let's say 10 different Journal Tacticas, each one of them with whichever part of the Heresy it deals with is still available for new players getting into this game. This, for me, is probably the most interesting and exciting bit of Horus Heresy. But I don't know how this is going to go down with the diehard players. I think the veteran Horus Heresy players will be really excited about this and the contents and the lore and diving into the actual battles of the Heresy and the tactical maps and things. I think veteran players are going to love all that. It's just how they deliver the units and how restricted the units are for armies outside of these scenarios. We'll see. We won't know until we get hold of these, but it does sound like they are, or the first one is coming out very soon, alongside a whole host of other Horus Heresy 3.0 goodies. Honestly, I'm expecting this to be dropping Sunday preview, The Big Old Heresy. That's what I think it's going to be titled. That's what I'm going to title my video if it is. It's going to be The Big Old Heresy. Yeah, I think this is fun. I can't fault their thinking, and I hope that it is met and delivered in the same honest, open and positive way. I think they've put these books together, but we really need to see the books. We need to see the units that are in them and how they interact with the Libers. So I'm a collector. I like to have the campaign books. I have got all but one of the 40k campaign books. The Age of Sigmar campaign books I pick up as they come out as well. These products aren't FOMO products. These products are widely available, probably because not many people want to pick them up. So if these books, these Journal Tacticas, are widely available, like they should be, like I've already said, I think this is great. I think this is really good. As long as they're priced for a 48 softback book, if they're priced in a acceptable state, shall we say, then I don't think this is that bad. While I'm just doing this, I am going to have a quick look at Old World. Do they have a army books? Okay, so let's have a quick look at Old World. So the Arcane Journals, which is what they reference, they're available digitally and they're available in paperback. Cathay is out of stock, but all of the others, from the looks of it, yeah, all of the others are in stock. This is Games Workshop prices. Each Arcane Journal is £16.50 UK money. Honestly, I don't think that price point, as long as it stays there, as long as it stays below 20 quid, I think that's a reasonable price point for what it would add for Games Workshop products. And I'm going to always use that as a caveat because we know what their pricing is like. But the amount of information that you get in here, I mean, there was 20 some pages, was it almost 30 pages of lore? Well, that's a Horus Heresy fan's dream right there, isn't it? If you're only playing Heresy for the rules and you're only interested in the units, these books might not be for you. But as a collector, as a completionist, as somebody who wants to be fully in on the Heresy and all of the extra bits that come with it, with the Libers, the rulebook will have information in there and lore in there for the relevant factions as well. These will be a really nice collector's piece, as long as they're priced right. And I hope that they'll be popular. It's just a shame that all of the other stuff from 2.0 is just being got rid of in day one, but we'll see. I am looking at this very much from an outsider, so let me know what you think in the comments below. As always, thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you all in the next one.